The average margin of victory for the last 6 All-Star games, non-conference format, was 8.5 points per game prior to the latest one, and so you can see most All-Star games have been pretty close. So you'd be surprised to see some stars have excelled far past the average while they're on the floor and leading to wins throughout All-Star game history. Let's break down and celebrate those players that have the highest career plus-minus across their respective All-Star game appearances while they're on the floor. In light of how uncompetitive recent All-Star games have become, you'd be surprised to find some familiar names from recent generations. The players on this list simply lead these games and score much more among the best while they're on the floor. 10. Amar'e Stoudemire and Ben Simmons. Amar'e Stoudemire was a 5-time All-Star with the Suns and then a 1-time All-Star while on the Knicks. Amar'e Stoudemire remarkably has only won 2 of the 6 All-Star games he's played in, but in the minutes he did play in these games, he has an extremely high plus-minus. Stoudemire had shooting splits of 57, 40, 75 in these games. Stoudemire has a plus 26 over his All-Star career. It's hard to imagine Ben Simmons would be here, but believe it or not, he's a 3-time All-Star but missed one of the games due to injury. He won every All-Star game he's played in, so he's 2 of 2. Ben Simmons also averaged an extremely high 92.9% field goal percentage in these games. Simmons also posted a plus 26 over his All-Star game appearances, ranking him 10th all-time. 9. Tony Parker. Tony Parker plays hard in All-Star games. Having won 4 of the 6 games he's played in, Tony Parker only averages 18.3 minutes per game, but finished with plus 28 in All-Star games over his career. 8. Jason Tatum, Draymond Green, and LaMarcus Aldridge. Jason Tatum only averaged 21.5 minutes per game in All-Star games, but averaged 22 points per game, 4.4 rebounds per game, 4.8 assists per game, 2 steals per game on 59% field goal percentage and 39% three-point percentage. Tatum won an All-Star Game MVP in 2023 and has won 3 of the 5 All-Star games he's played in. Across the 5 All-Star games he's played in, he has a plus 32 on the floor. Draymond Green didn't provide much on offense, but his defense certainly translated even into the All-Star game. He only played 15.6 minutes per game and averaged 3 points per game, 5.7 rebounds per game, 2.7 assists per game, 2 steals per game. He won 2 of the 3 All-Star games he's played in and also has a plus 32 plus minus. LaMarcus Aldridge played in 7 All-Star games, having won 6 of them, but only averaged 11.7 minutes per game, by far the lowest out of anyone on this list. He found ways to lead to winning while on the floor, or he could simply be a lucky benefactor of playing alongside the best lineups to amass such a high plus minus. He averaged 4.6 points per game on 36.8% field goal percentage. It's certainly a strange outlier to explain, but over 7 All-Star games, it's definitely hard to discredit. 7. Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett always played with an edge and took every game seriously, including All-Star games. He's even criticized today's All-Star games for being too soft. KG was a 2003 All-Star Game MVP. KG only averaged 20.5 minutes per game across the 14 All-Star games he's played in, but he only won 6 of those games. Judging by his high plus-minus of plus 34, they certainly would have won a lot more of those games had KG been on the floor more. 6. Steve Francis. Steve Francis was a 3-time All-Star who won every All-Star game he played in. He averaged 12.0 points per game, 2.7 rebounds per game, 5.3 assists per game, and 24.3 minutes per game. Steve Francis finished with a plus-minus of plus 35, placing him 6th all-time in career plus-minus across All-Star games. 5. Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's career averages across All-Star games is really impressive, with 20.1 points per game, 6.0 rebounds per game, and 9.9 assists per game on 60, 45, 75 shooting splits, while averaging 26.6 minutes per game. Kyrie was also the 2014 All-Star Game MVP. Kyrie hasn't won in as many All-Star games though, having won 3 of the 8 games he played in. But when Kyrie is on the floor, they were definitely winning, as he has a high plus-minus of plus 40 across his All-Star minutes. Kyrie's flashy game doesn't just lead to more views, but also seems to energize the All-Star lineups on the floor with them to outscore opponents. 4. Damian Lillard. The jump between 5th place Kyrie and 4th place Dame's plus-minus is extremely high, surprisingly. The list from here on out is levels higher in terms of plus-minus, with Dame having a plus-minus of plus 77, which is plus 37 higher than 4th place Kyrie. Dame's numbers don't stand out more than Kyrie, but they're certainly winning more with Dame on the floor. Dame also won 5 of the 7 All-Star games he's played in. Dame also just recently won the 2024 All-Star Game MVP. 3. Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan's always been a winner, but it seems the perception he doesn't care about All-Star games isn't really true. People forget, but he was the 2000 All-Star Game MVP. He won 9 of the 15 All-Star games he's played in. Duncan averaged 9.3 points per game and 9.1 rebounds per game in 20.7 minutes per game on 54.8% field goal percentage. Duncan had a plus-minus of plus 81 across his All-Star Game appearances. 2. Chris Paul. Chris Paul has taken All-Star Game seriously throughout his career, constantly finishing among the finalists for All-Star Game MVP. Chris Paul did win the 2013 All-Star Game MVP though. Chris Paul has won 9 of the 11 All-Star Games he's played in. If Chris Paul played more in his 2 All-Star Game losses, they likely would not have lost, considering how high his plus-minus is when he was on the floor. In 24.8 minutes per game, Chris Paul averaged 12.2 points per game, 3.9 rebounds per game, 11.6 assists per game, 2.4 steals per game, and only 2.3 turnovers per game. Chris Paul's 11.6 assists per game is the highest career assist per game in All-Star Game history as well. You can check out my other video, I'll link in the end, to see who the other 9 are in that category. In All-Star Games, Chris Paul averages shooting splits of 53, 47, 86 and has a plus-minus of plus 86. 1. Kobe Bryant. Number 1 is none other than the man himself that the All-Star Game MVP is named after, and it only makes sense how competitive he was and made others around him to have the same tenacity and the will to win like Kobe did. Kobe's intensity even in All-Star Games was contagious, and we see some of the greatest defensive and offensive highlights in All-Star Game history from him. Whenever Kobe played, the All-Star Games were intense. He won 4 All-Star Game MVPs, tied for most ever with Bob Pettit. Since Kobe's passing, the only time All-Star Games were even competitive was in tribute to him, but unfortunately slowly descended back into low-quality games with no defense again. Kobe not only elevated the All-Star Game, his legacy tried to save it with the 24-point quarter stipulation the NBA implemented a few years ago. Kobe took every minute seriously even in All-Star Games. Kobe averaged the most steals per game out of everyone on this list, speaking to how much he defended in these games. Kobe won 10 of the 15 All-Star Games he played in. He averaged 19.9 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 4.7 assists per game, 2.5 steals per game in the 27.7 minutes per game he played in All-Star Games. Kobe's plus-minus across his All-Star Game appearances was a ridiculous plus 88. If you liked the video and want to see more like it, please remember to like and subscribe. Also, be sure to check out my other video breaking down the top 10 career assist per game leaders in All-Star Game history. You'll definitely be surprised at some great flashy scorers who surprisingly became some of the best playmakers in All-Star Games.